to get around without public transit for just a little longer. All parties in the Ontario legislature agree they will force striking employees of the Toronto Transit Commission back to work. Overseas, and probably very much beyond that, Europe has taken a big step in its quest to build an alternative to the US-run GPS tracking system. It has launched a new satellite into space, one it hopes will help scientists develop a new navigation system by 2013. The test satellite, carried by a Soyuz rocket, is carrying atomic clocks and other tracking equipment. European backers say the new system, called Galileo, will be faster and more accurate than what's available now. So to help us navigate through this new technology, we're joined by Kevin Shortt, who is the president of the Canadian Space Society. It's nice to see you again.
Good to see you.
Galileo, cool name. What does it do?
Well, as you say, it's the rival to the Americans' global positioning system. The unique thing about Galileo is the fact that this is a completely public thing. GPS is actually run by the U.S. military and is as a spin-off, provides services to the general public. But Galileo is strictly a public access global positioning system.
Okay, and we'll get into the differences between, what might be good, what might be better. But why do it in the first place? How did this come to be?
Well, it comes from the fact that insurance policies need guarantees, and there are a lot of services that are provided, or a lot of logistical things that are used that use the global positioning system, such like truck tracking, shipment tracking, including aircraft and all of these kinds of things. And in order to provide those services and guarantee those kinds of services for their companies, the satellite navigation people need to confirm that, yeah, we're going to always have this service. And you can't do that with GPS because it's controlled by the American government, and the Americans can turn it off anywhere and any time. So in order for insurance companies to provide insurance for these other companies in Europe, they need to have that guarantee, and Europe, having its own system, provides that guarantee, because they control it, they dictate when and where the system is going to be operational.
Okay, so with the guarantee should come a certain level of accuracy, I would think.
Yeah.
So with Galileo, compared to GPS, which one is more accurate, or can we tell at this point?
Well, at this point we can't tell. The two spacecraft that are currently in orbit now, the one that was launched last night and the one that was launched in 2005, they're what's called GEOV, and that stands for Galileo In-Orbit Validation Element. As with anything that goes into space, you need to have a proof of concept. So these are spacecraft that are proofs of concept for the actual constellation system that's going to start launching in 2010. So they're going to be testing technologies, testing the timing, testing the signals, all of these things.
Pretty big claims, though, being made already by the Europeans.
Most definitely, and where the big claims are lies in their super accurate clocks that are on board, because what the navigation system basically comes down to is a timing signal. So you have a timer on board the spacecraft that sends a signal, and you measure the change in time, or the variation in time between the ground and the spacecraft, and you can judge your distance from that. So it comes from highly accurate clocks on board the spacecraft.
So it's a European thing, sort of made for Europeans, but is this something that the rest of the world is going to have access to? Like in Canada, will we have a choice eventually?
Yeah, and it's something that, again, can be controlled, and as with anything else in space, anybody can see it because these things are so far off. In fact, the spacecraft that was launched last night is 22,000 kilometers away, and so we can see that certainly from parts of Canada. So these are things that can be potentially available in the future to Canadians.
Okay, again, in the future, but have they given kind of a ETA?
Well, not at the moment. The only ETA that they have is that they're going to get the system up and running in 2010 to 2013 is when they're going to be launching the some 24 or 26 satellites that are required for the constellation. And at that point, they're going to be hammering out a lot of the details in terms of where the service is going to be provided and all of this kind of stuff.
Up in space, though, I mean, what sort of potential challenges could there be that would stand in the way of making this thing fully operational?
Well, certainly if anything, any of the new technology doesn't pan out to be what they had hoped, or if things don't come online the way they had hoped, and of course you're always dealing with potential launch failures, problems at launch, not being put into the correct orbit. All of these kinds of things wreak havoc in the potential success or failure of the mission itself.
Okay, it sounds like we're still going to be relying on GPS for some time yet.
Oh, for some time, yeah.
All right, it's still a fascinating conversation. Thanks, Kevin, very much for having it with us.
My pleasure.
Well, Teresa is going to join us with a look at the weather, more terrestrial kind of news for you in just a moment.